Another shot looking through the gap to the west. The gap in the shade. One more last panel before we leave. I'll zoom in tight. I'll pan around and get the east side as we leave. And that's all, folks. Well, here we are in St. George. Schindler. Super 8 Motel. AARP discount. St. George, September 28th, 1995. St. George Temple from the parking lot of the motel. Probably get another little shot of that soon. Oh, they just closed the door. I better get going. This would be the cannon in on the St. George Temple grounds. It was cast in France, liberated by Napoleon in Russia. When he left Russia, the cannon was left there, found its way across Russia, eventually to Fort Ross in California, where I believe some of the troops from the Mormon battalion on their way home picked it up, mounted it on wheels, and ended here. It was used as a pile driver. You can see that the cascable is worn off. This would be the business end of the pile driver. The trunnions are missing. There are some mysterious grooves on the sides. These are the grooves that have been cut into the side for some reason, probably to adapt it as a use as a pile driver. One more quick shot. And then we'll get around to Temple Grounds. St. George Temple. Very close. Temple Grounds. And we're off to Mountain Meadow.
Oh yeah. Charles' son.
Where's
the guy that runs the Shadron Museum?
Shadron, yeah.
From the cairn through the middle or around the outside.
Yeah, there's a big heavy discussion going on from the new monument site.
Because he and Morris shirts have got a little problem.
But now if you use the measurements from Carlton and Brewer, which are a mile and a half,
I'll pan down across the valley.
generally that puts you up here.
Right.
And even if you bend,
This is the Mountain Meadow.
Right there's
that's how you look at the explanation. What am I reading? The Mormons camp in Whitetail Range, militia. Yeah. And then beyond this little ridge you see here, is that sand tree. And that is what I think. That's probably what they're calling that. That's where they cross, where the two parties get out of sight. Because otherwise, what is it that blocks the view of the men and the women? So, I don't have a fixed opinion on this, but it's evidence to me. But it seems to match the descriptions that are given by the participants.
Off to the right of that, one tree and an open space, then another group of trees.
Right.
Is that second group one?
No, it's beyond that.
It's
Farther.
beyond that.
Go across the field, you'll see the field, and then you'll come up to a larger clump of trees, and then there's a space, kind of a clump over here, and a space, and then a large clump of trees, and then a row of trees going straight to the line.
Okay.
Okay, that little triangle area there is the...
One more view of Mountain Meadow. I'll zoom in to where Hamlin Ranch is. From here, some 4 miles, just at the base of that slope, running from high left to low right behind that hill.
And this guy said, if they even season them with one gun, go out with all the guns in the wild. All the guns in the wild.
Here's the question, how do we get them to that?
Got all the kids. The rest of you can take the little ones when they put 15, 16, 17, 16. Put her in Baker's arm. He's okay. He's holding. He's wounded. Off they go. First wagon, the ammunition wagon.
They've got the wagons, they
Okay, but that's the next step. First wagon's the ammunition wagon. Massacre Hill is a name. The hill from Morris is all like, which hill is it? say the middle. That's my guess. Well, the massacre, no, here's an immigrant. You're here. You're going to fire in this direction. I'm over here, and the only guy who's on horseback is Hickman. All the other horses are corralled. Actually, he's not right there. He's not tracing of the Spanish Trail on a
Now this is a cairn that was built by some locals,
and then we'll sit down
and they surrounded what was obviously some bone remains.
I think he said I was here with him.
Just to protect them.
Something like they went down this gully.
He put there. I remember. I'm not very careful, but I remember that's the what is it? The Goatsy River, whatever that is.
I'm going to pan up towards the monument that we were looking down from. This is what is called Massacre Hill. Panning to my right. And I believe that is where the monument is.
About 30 feet out that way, based on what the notes.
There's piles of rocks here, and we'd have to move rocks, and if anyone came out and saw that we'd moved rocks, it would cause...
In 1930,
I mean, I'm talking
William
about
Palmer,
doing
state
it in the
president, put
evening.
together a word for you. The old rock pile has been cut in half, their bones sticking out. No, the rock pile is 30 feet out there. Carlton's rock pile. They dig up Carlton's rock pile, they move it 30 feet back, and they put it here. So,
Now another view of the rock cairn. As I said, it was built sometime before as a stake project in the 1930, when they said that the ground had sloughed away and there were bones sticking out from that previous burial. They picked up the bones in this area and moved them 30 feet and reinterred them and built this rock wall around. Now you can see how the ground has sloughed off or eroded away since 1930. So the lay of the land now is not at all what it was at the time of the massacre. In order to protect this, this tripod-shaped affair is just a handrail for some steps going up, across the rock, and down into this burial area. I'm going to go back across now to what Josiah Gibbs calls Massacre Hill. And we'll stop with Massacre Hill for a moment.
Right over there.
There you were looking at.
It has to be because he's firing down on the camp.
And a Josiah Gibbs photo.
From the top of the hill to the north and east. It has to be up here. That rock has to be up here. Behind us somewhere. And that isn't a rock you're going to move.
No, we're not moving that.
And down here, let's see.
Just a little scenery along a fence line. Looks rather colorful. All right, now one last remark. Massacre Hill is right above the fence post in front of me. The men and the women were marched up in the direction that I'm panning. The women ahead, the man behind, or the men behind, to about a point right here. This is about the area where the men were killed. The women were very likely at the brow of the hill, the light spot, not quite over the hill.
Now I got,
So that's where the women very likely were killed, in the light spot above the juniper, not quite over the brow of the hill, because they could still, the wagons could still be seen. The two girls, after hearing the shots and the commotion, started to run back down this area.
And the one thing you need to look